What are Monk tone clusters and how can we use them? The simplest way to think about them is as two-note clusters or dyads separated by a second interval, either a minor second or a major second. So take any chord tone and find a half step below it to get a minor second, and a whole step below to get a major second. You can hear Monk use them everywhere throughout his songbook. There's Crepuscule with Nellie, coming on the Hudson, or a blues like Functional. There are simply too many examples to go through from Monk's songbook where he uses them, otherwise I'll never get to the main point of this lesson. If you have a favourite Monk tone cluster moment from a song or a solo, pop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. The point being is that these tone clusters are part of his vocabulary. There's something that makes his sound very distinctive, and anyone who's serious about assimilating parts of that vocabulary needs to know how to use them, which is the point of the lesson today. So in this video, I'm going to go through, firstly, how to find these tone clusters on the fretboard and how to think about them in terms of creating particular tonalities. Secondly, how to practice these to get them into your playing. And thirdly, walk you through an etude that demonstrates one particular application of the tone clusters, which is comping. All the PDFs for this lesson are available either on my Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee, the links to which you can find below. And this video is part of a series on what makes Monk sound like Monk, so make sure that you hit the like, subscribe, and the little bell button so you don't miss out on any future content. So anywhere you can find a chord tone and a half step or a whole step below it, you can create these tone clusters. So let's think about this in the key of B flat, and in the etude I'm going to demonstrate this over a blues form. So you've got the root and the minor 7, gives a tonic dominant sort of sound. The root and the major 7 also works, much more dissonant. With the flat 7 you have the natural 13 and the flat 13. Here's the 13 with a 5th underneath. It also works with that flat 13, flat 6. Here's the flat 13 with the 5th. Also works with that sharp 11. Here's the 5th with the 4th. Monk has taught us that we can play 4ths. If you don't want to play that, it also works with the sharp 11. Here's a sharp 11 with the 3rd underneath. Also works with the sharp 9 underneath. The 4th or the 11th with the 3rd underneath. Also works with the sharp 9 underneath. Here's a 3rd with the sharp 9. Or the 9th. Here's a sharp 9 with a 9th underneath. Or the flat 9. Here's a 9th with a flat 9. Or the root. And here's the root with the major 7. Or the flat 7. And that's the octave. So all of these work. Some of them are going to be a more tonic dominant sound and others are going to be a more altered dominant sound. So what we get is two sets of different shapes, a whole step shape and a half step shape, which are movable all across the fretboard. All of those chord tones and shapes are available in the PDFs below. So how should we practice these to get them into your playing? I think the best way is to try and practice voice leading between them. So let's take this tonic dominant shape and practice voice leading up into it. So we can start from the natural 13 and the 5th. you can practice voice leading from above. So take the sharp 9 and the 9, but then instead of moving down a fret, you can create inner voice movement by going down to the flat 9. And just descend chromatically till you get to the tonic dominant. You also don't have to target the tonic dominant, you can target any of these altered dominant sounds. So for example, let's take this flat 13 with the sharp 11 underneath. We can target it from a half step below, or a half step above. We can use the inner voice movement principle. This shape as well, when you think about it, can also act as a tonic dominant, and you could also think about it as voice leading into the 5 chord of a blues. The F7. If you've watched my video on Monk shell voicings, in particular the parts on dominant movement principles, you will quickly realize that you can basically use these shapes to chromatically target whatever resolution chord you're wishing to get to. So you should start practicing these without a metronome. Just pick one dominant tonality and practice voice leading between it. When you get more comfortable with that, pick another tonality, practice voice leading towards that. Once you get more comfortable with that, start repeating the process for the 4 chord, which is the E flat 7. And repeat the whole process for the 5 chord, which is the F7. And obviously you can repeat the process for pretty much any chord substitution you want to use. So we break down the concept into its simplest components and its simplest applications, and try and build up a firm foundation and greater complexity from there. So I've put together an etude to demonstrate how you can use these tone clusters to accompany over a 12-bar blues. The PDF is available in the links in the description below. So let's break down what's going on here. In measure 1, I'm just playing the tonic dominant shape to imply that B flat 7 tonic dominant. And then to measure 2, I voice lead up from a half step below the E flat 7 tonic dominant. Then in the next measure, I voice lead down into the B flat 7 dominant. And so one of the things about these shapes is that you can actually create all of this contrapuntal type motion by just looking at the geometrics of the fretboard. And so in this case, a half step below the C sharp, and use that to chromatically voice lead back into the tonic dominant. So leading into the 4 chord, I'm targeting it by using this minor second shape. Again, you get some type of voice movement. So and then I repeated that motif to get back to the 1 chord. And so to get back to the 5 chord, I use that geometric concept by looking at this A flat, which is acting as the flat 7 underneath the tonic dominant. It's now harmonized with a natural 13 underneath. Keep on chromatically descending, and then using that voice leading concept again. Rather than simply learning this etude verbatim, I'd encourage you to write your own etude so that you can internalize the concepts. But importantly, I think it's about practicing them in such a way as to develop freedom and spontaneity in your playing, which is part of the whole essence of the tradition that we are part of. So this is just one basic application of Monk's tone clusters. I think it forms the foundation of a whole bunch of others. So I think mastering this allows you to start harmonizing lines when you're improvising. If you've thought of some applications as you've been watching this video, pop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you head over to my Patreon, you can find PDFs of all the lesson material from today. You also get access to PDFs of all my previous lessons. And it's also a way you can support me in my ability to create content like this, which takes a lot of time and commitment. And your support over on Patreon or buying copies of the PDFs through Buy Me a Coffee is what makes that possible. I've recently just launched my Patreon and I'm offering founding member status to the first 50 subscribers, which means the price that you sign up for, which starts at less than the price of a coffee per month, that price remains locked in regardless of whatever changes to pricing take place in the future. There's also a monthly option where you can get a monthly guitar lesson with me one-on-one so we can work on some of this stuff in more detail, and you get that lesson at a discount as well as access to all of the PDFs of my lessons. As I've already mentioned, this video is part of a series on what makes Monk sound like Monk. So if you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like, subscribe and the little bell button so you don't miss out on any future content. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and I will see you all next week.